Dear Hector, since the 16th century, as you know, no writers, scholars, or English gentleman's education was complete without taking the grand tour through Europe. And by the same token, no cook's education is complete without a trip to Italy. Of course, the likes of Byron, Shelley, Mark Twain, and the nobility would have travelled in slow luxury, attended by servants, as they explored the art, the landscape, the history, and the gastronomic delights that make up Italy. I, of course, travel in a more modest way. My journey starts at Cinque Terre, the Five Lands, where fishing villages nestle in the seaside cliffs on the beautiful Ligurian coast on the northwest of Italy. This is Vernazza, a port of sorts. It's tiny and ancient, with its tall, colourful houses and church clustered together at the head of the cove, which is still used by the local fishermen. As doubtless you know, Hector, the Ligurians were a small lot, but they were a very courageous race who carried on a long and fierce defence of their land against all sorts of invaders from the sea, including the Saracens. But then they lost finally to the Romans, and now to hordes of English tourists attracted by the beauty of the Italian Riviera. It used to be hard to reach the Cinque Terre in any way except by water. As you can see, there's no room for my big car, and this truck we hired just wouldn't fit under the archway. So, under the inscrutable gaze of the locals, I was unceremoniously packed into the back of this ape, bee, Vespa is wasp, by the way. Not that they seem to mind. Though Liguria itself has opened up to the tourist trade, it hasn't been ruined by it. The locals of the Cinque Terre retain every inch of their dignity, and if the sight of an English cook bounding away in the ape is too much, they just walk away. It seemed to be an interesting start for the new members of our crew, but I was a bit nervous. However, Dennis, our new cameraman, and John on sound seemed to take it in their stride. And there was a kind, if not demonstrative, audience for my first attempt of a signature dish of their region. Here, in this part of Italy, three things are king: basil, olive oil, garlic, tomatoes, and fish. That's five things, isn't it? It doesn't matter. Those are the important ingredients of this part of Italy. So I'm going to celebrate a wonderful fish dish made of these fine things. Have a quick spin round here, Albin. Parsley, tomatoes, basil, garlic, onions, lemons, some pressed anchovies in salt, which we're not using, but this is a local speciality, and of course, a selection of wonderful fresh fish. But to make this dish really delicious, you have to make the local sauce, which is called a pesto. And a pesto is made from basil, olive oil, garlic, parsley, and pine kernels. These are the raw ingredients down here: basil chopped, parsley chopped, pine kernels, garlic, and of course, where is it? The wonderful olive oil. Right, so we pop some garlic into there, and we pop some pine kernels in there, like that, and laboriously and lovingly we start crushing them down, like that, for a little bit. And we crush and we crush and we crush and we crush, and we really wear our wrists out. Then we put some parsley in and some basil in, like that. And we crush and we crush and we crush and we crush and we crush, and little by little by little by little we drizzle this first-class Italian olive oil into the pestle. Now, back up to me, please, Dennis. You've known me long enough now on television to know damn fine I'm not going to spend the next 25 minutes mucking about with that. So could you take that away, please? Thank you. And could you take these things away? Thank you very much indeed. Because what I've done, my new chum from the restaurant, he's actually standing there, the chef there, very, very kindly made me some up in his Magimix, which is much quicker, and it's a wonderful sauce, very typical of this part of the country. Absolutely superb. Right, very simply now, one of the things you don't know, you may not know, is that this little fish is called a mullet, and it's a red mullet. And my lovely wife, before she became Mrs. Floyd, used to be called Miss Mullet. So we're going to dedicate this dish to her and call it a red Floyd, or, to be really corny, a pink Floyd. Oops, I've nearly dropped it. But you'd be nervous too if you had a look round here and said, look, they're all experts. They've been doing this all their lives. This is the first time I've ever done it today. Anyway, thank you very much. Put the fish in there. Okay, and while that's happening, we'll put some handmade, lovely fresh pasta into this boiling water. Turn the gas up. That boils away. The fish fries away. Excellent, Dennis. 7 minutes, the fish is impeccably cooked. Now we go on to stage 2. Stage 2.5. A little bit more of this Cinque Terre wine, which is, I have to tell you, I'm not plugging anything, because there's all different shippers and everything like that, but it's damn good. Really is brilliant. Anyway, on with the sauce. We'll chuck a few pine kernels into there, like so. Little bits of tomato. At this stage we'll lift the fish right out, so stay with me. It's very noisy here, I know that. The fish comes out, goes onto the plate like so. A little bit of basil, a little bit of parsley, and pepper on top. That's the church bells. Dennis, back up to me. The sound records will probably get that one because it was only one. Normally it was about 12, he misses them. Anyway, the church bells do ring here, so that's it. Now a final little touch of beautiful olive oil. Those of you who are worried about fatty things, olive oil is not fatty. The people of Italy and the people of Spain who use a lot of it don't have as many heart attacks as I'm about to have because they eat lots of olive oil. It's very, very good for you, olive oil is. Then the splendid pesto goes over the fish like that. And you should have lots of it because it is so good. One final thing to do, which could be a little bit tricky, but this is a real cookery program, so we don't drop lids to annoy the sound man or anything like that. Couldn't do that, could be, especially on a Sunday. Let's take our pasta out, drain it carefully, into some more olive oil and pepper. And then, there's my fork gone. We'll give that a little twizzle. Now a big, fat, loving close-up, because that is my interpretation of Monte Rosso on a plate.
Genoa, one of the largest and most important ports in Italy. In the Middle Ages, it was a republic in its own right, and a favourite starting point when the well-heeled did the Grand Tour. The place is dripping with historical significance. For instance, its patron saint, George, was the one who slayed the dragon. And Garibaldi set off from here to liberate Sicily and ended up unifying Italy. But above all, Hector, you remember that this was the birthplace of Christopher Columbus, without whom the USA wouldn't exist. Mind you, he had to get the money from Spain to find the land of truth, justice, the American way, and hamburgers. Thank you, Christopher. Anyway, enough history, we must press on now, up north to explore the Piedmont region. So called because it's at the foot of the mountains which rise above its northern and western borders. Barolo is the heart of Piedmont and one of Italy's greatest wine-producing areas. It has 1,200 hectares of vineyards which produce about 6.5 million bottles of wine a year. Sort of place I could grow to like. In fact, I've already grown to like the wine. It really is super. The younger ones are really good. And it was really good, but despite my entreaties, they said they were too tired to eat another thing. They wanted to get home. Well, the vineyard workers can wend their weary way home, but as the sun sets behind Mont Blanc, I have to head further north, up towards the lakes. I took the scenic route. Well, there's really no choice in the matter. Countryside like this, every bit is so beautiful. And I decided to stop off in a few of the delightful little towns en route. Every street corner has its own special character, out in the terrazza or under the arches.
For me to walk past a shop like this without coming in would be like asking me to walk past a pub in the desert. It has an irresistible attraction. But it isn't just a museum, which I thought it was, just a museum of grandfather's old artifacts filled with bought-in sweets. Not at all. They make their own chocolates here, exquisite roasted hazelnuts with dark chocolate, marron glaces, and they've been doing it uninterrupted since 1881. Long may it continue, and let's hope people like the EEC don't come in and try and destroy this sort of place. It's a living, working museum. Time has stopped still, but the skills march on.
No trip to northern Italy is complete without a visit to the lakes, and Lago Maggiore is the biggest and probably the most beautiful of all. The early morning is a great time to experience its wild majesty, wild weather, and make sure the fish couldn't be fresher. Happily, I don't suffer from seasickness, or cold, or depression, or bad luck. They love the outdoor life, the Italians. They're very self-expressive. Actually, this one reminds me of that wonderful Tommy Cooper joke, when his uncle, he claimed, found a Stradivarius and a Picasso in the attic. The only trouble was, it was Picasso who made the Stradivarius, and Stradivarius who painted the picture. Even those with less obvious talents find plenty to do, strolling around in the sunshine with their families. And the old men, with less money in their pocket but more memories in their heads, can chatter happily away about the good old days.
A winter classic dish is called a bollito. It's a slow, simmering stew of several different meats. It's a hot pot. It's a pot au feu. It's a delicious, warming thing, the kind of food you feed to farm workers, grape pickers, fleets of lorry drivers, and of course, truffle hunters. So, with no further ado, pop in and have a look at the ingredients. We've got a wonderful old boiling cockerel. We have a flank of beef with its bones on, most important. We have an ox tongue. We have a boned out pig's head, and a big piece of shin of beef, which is very important, and some wonderful homemade porky sausages. And to flavour the stock, just a couple of onions, carrots, and celery. Okay? It's a terribly simple dish, but it's not worth cooking for less than about 10 people, because it takes 4 hours to cook. You need a party atmosphere at the end of it. It's very, very simple. All you do, first of all, you put the pig's head into the pot of water, goes like so, and it goes. Then, in real cookery programs, back up to me for a second, please, Dennis. In real cookery programs, you'd let that cook for half an hour before adding the flank of beef. And then you'd let that cook for a little bit longer before you added the shin of beef. That goes in. And then you would add the chicken or the cockerel. And then one small cheat which we have made, we've already cooked our tongue because that takes even longer than the rest. So there's already part cooked, and that can go in as well. Then for flavouring, carrots, onions, and celery. And that has to simmer away for another 4 hours, and the sausages are added half an hour before they end. So I thought I'd while away the time with a new chum who's promised to show me how to hunt for truffles. Truffles are a local speciality, and they're in season at the end of October. In France they use pigs as well as dogs, but here it's just dogs, mongrel dogs. Not show dogs, but they're much more esteemed.
These delicious sweet fungi are found around the roots of oaks, hazels and poplars in the hills of Piedmont.
Facendo così l'ha buttata.
Wow, what a smell. I know it's outrageous in these recession-hit days, but £1,500 a kilo? I reckon they're worth it.
My bollito was still simmering merrily away, so I decided to try another speciality from the region, a fonduta. They make this from fontina cheese, soaked in milk for half an hour, then it's gently heated, stirring all the time until it forms a lovely, thick, unctuous, creamy texture. Quite unlike the Swiss ones, where wine is often used. Isn't that so, madam?
Right, it's beginning to thicken nicely now. Dennis, if you can come in for a big fat close-up there, we can see how we're getting on. The cheese is really being absorbed into the milk, and a lovely gooey substance is emerging. Now, at home, back up to me, please. While you break all the eggs and muck about other things like that, it's a good idea to get your husband to step in, because it's time he did some work anyhow, and kept stirring that while you get on the other bits. But I'm going to reverse the roles and get my wife to. Sean, if we just pop in a sec and change over to the whisk at this stage as well. You keep doing that, my darling. Thank you. Next phase, a couple of eggs. 1 egg per person. This is enough for about 4 people, so we put 4 eggs in. Like so. Yeah! It's a nasty, Dennis, that was a very nasty wasp trying to get me there. You could have warned me. Anyway, salt and pepper into the eggs. Like so. Then beat those up. Then we cut some little cubes of butter. This will enable it, by cutting it quite small, will enable it to absorb into the fondue rather more quickly. So put those in there. Right, my darling. Thank you very much indeed for all of that. Then in we go with the egg yolks and the butter. Look at that wonderful colour. My goodness me, that is superb. I keep whisking like crazy at this stage because the eggs mustn't curdle or separate in any way. You don't want scrambled eggs in cheese. Now, while that's just finishing off, back over to me, please, Dennis. Pass me the keys to the safe. Hold on, hold on. Then, in here, we have the object of all our desires, the object of the whole of Italy's desires, a white truffle. Please? So, there it is, it's ready. Now, final things now, final whisk. As you can see, it's beautifully thickened, smooth, no lumps. Okay, we pop it into the earthenware dish, like so, and strew it with these wonderful pieces of white gold, the celebrated white truffle of Italy, and then just a little pepper on top. That is fonduta.
The Italians, especially those who live in the country, are very self-sufficient. They grow their own food, they pickle it, they preserve it, they bottle fruit, they make their own wine. They have a wonderful time. Anyway, 4 hours later, the bollito is well and truly ready.
So, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. Let's lift a few bits out and see what it's looking like. Firstly, the shin. Beautiful gelatinous fat on the side there. Oh, beautiful. That is carving splendidly. Tender, it would melt in your mouth. I wish we had smelly vision. Awful fly. Right, beautiful piece of shin of beef. Next we'll have some tongue. Ox tongue. Two lovely slivers of ox tongue. Then what shall we have? Ah, a friend of mine's face. Lovely fatty pig face. The fat is very important to this dish. So we'll have a sliver of that. And a sliver of that. A few sausages. Sausages in the middle. Just like a mama used to make. And then, finally, have our old faithful farmyard friend who will never crow again. Then is, to me, please, is, with just a few additions, a perfect bollito. But before you have your final fat, full, loving close-up, we must have a dressing of garlic, parsley, lemon juice and olive oil to go with it, and we must have a dressing of tomatoes, pimentos, garlic, olive oil and vinegar. And if you will permit me, I rest my case.